Dallas may go on the outside. One man to beat, dives to the goal line. Touchdown, Arizona, no flags, 96 yards.
Welcome back to your Valley Sports Plugs Arizona Cardinals recap for Game 1 of the 2024-2025 season. I'm Chris Patrick with Michael Benjamin, and we're here to break it all down for you. So let's go ahead and get into it. Week 1 saw the Redbirds on the road taking on the Buffalo Bills at Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. Cardinals had more fight in them than was expected, but weren't able to steal this one, losing to Buffalo 34-28 and an 0-1 record to start the season. But let's not waste any time. Mike, what are your thoughts on this Week 1 game?
Ladies and gentlemen, the Arizona Cardinals are back, but are they better than ever? Speaking of back, we're bringing back the mantra, folks. We're not too high and we're not too low, because there were positive and negatives from this Week 1 performance in Buffalo. And the positives, they were all in the first half, right? Hell of an opening drive, getting everyone involved in the first half, it seemed like. You cause a turnover, and it seemed like before we blinked, it was 17-3. But before we opened our eyes from the blink, it was a tie game, right? I know it was windy, but that kickoff to start the second half by Matt Prater, which is short of the landing zone, and the Bills only have to go 60 yards to tie, that's a killer. Blake Gillikin's punt with less than 5 minutes, just absolutely atrocious. Net 28 yards. So the Bills start on our 42-yard line, which leads to a field goal, which makes the Cardinals have to go get it all with less than 2 minutes left, right? I want you all to take a trip down memory lane with me back to our season predictions. I did say the Bills were undermanned at skill positions, but the key to victory was, what can you do to stifle Josh Allen? And obviously it didn't happen, right? He goes for 4 total touchdowns. We just lost contain on him way too much. And if it got there on the edge, the gaps were open for him to move up and out. And we lost out on so many sack opportunities just from Josh Allen's legs alone. He was just having his way. But overall, defensive-wise, Chris, I think they did what they could, right? I mean, James Cook only had a 3.7-yard average per carry, even though it seemed like he gashed us early in downs and often. But when you give teams a short field, teams are going to pay against the elite. And Josh Allen is elite. He is a top 3 quarterback in this league. Let's look at our guy, K1. He looked good, folks. I don't care what you say, right? The feet looked spry. He was making the correct decisions, which catapulted us to that early lead. But we know this game is about adjustments. And the Cardinals did not adjust to the adjustments, right? The Bills started loading the box, bringing blitz pressures on rundowns, and we continued to do those guard pull sweeps with James Conner, and it just wasn't working. 30 passing yards on a 5-yard average in the second half is a recipe for a loss for anyone, right? The blitz pickups in the second halves were tough. Kyler just didn't have time. But you got to adjust. I mean, more RPOs, more bootlegs. Like, there's a reason I'm not making the X's and O's, but it was clear to see the adjustments were just not there from this Cardinals team yesterday. And I know we want to nitpick the play down the stretch with Marv wide open, but I'm more concerned with his overall lack of involvement in this game. Chris, 3 targets. I know JG talked about the safety high cloud coverage, but that's how it's going to be, right? No slants, out routes, or comeback routes at all within his route tree for the day. That shit ain't going to cut it, right? The best of the best were not open either. You can look at guys like Megatron, and you can look at our own Larry Fitzgerald. You have to find a way. I know it's easier said than done, but it is what it is, Chris. And either way, we take this L after putting up a hell of a fight. Let's not get it mistaken. And let's remember, not too high, not too low.
Yeah, Mike, I mean, you really nailed it. So I'll keep my thoughts short here. At the end of the day, the Cardinals looked better than expected, in my opinion. We saw Greg Dortch making plays. Kyler made some plays with his legs. The first half was much better than the second half. I think that's going to be a huge story. Can these Arizona Cardinals play a complete game wire to wire? Because had they done that yesterday, could have been a different outcome. I absolutely agree, though. We still need to figure out the offensive flow and utilize the weapons we have. Marvin Harrison, 3 targets is absolutely unacceptable. Would have liked to see Trey McBride get involved a little bit more, especially James Conner in the second half. On the other side of the ball with the defense, tackling seemed to be a huge issue throughout the game. One play that stood out in particular was Max Melton not wrapping up Khalil Shakir, and he got a huge first down and a big gain out of it. Just things like that, easy to clean up, and I think we can do it. But you're absolutely right again. The Cardinals could not contain Josh Allen. It seems like he had all day, was able to weave in and out of the pocket and either get the ball downfield or get himself downfield. Just a recipe for disaster. But Josh Allen is probably one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, so we can maybe give him a little bit of grace there. At the end of the day, Mike, we knew that the defense was going to be our biggest weakness, and it showed. Aside from all that, Mike, there were some shining pieces, as you had mentioned. So we're going to bring it back. Our player of the recap. Who you got for week 1?
Ladies and gentlemen, I am just so excited to continue to watch what this team is going to be able to do this year. And the success is going to be from a lot of these newcomers on this team. And for this week, I'm going with my player of the recap as another one of those newcomers. It's linebacker Mack Wilson Sr. 9 total tackles, a tackle for loss. He was just shooting the gaps on third down, man, creating some leverage to get the Bills off the field. And I'm so excited to see where this tandem of Kaiser White and Wilson can take us. Now, there's still plenty of work to do on containing the run overall. And Chris, I'd be remiss if we didn't give an honorable mention to DJ Dallas for that incredible kickoff run. But this week, I'm going with Mr. Mack Wilson. But Chris, who do you got for your player of the week on week 1?
Mike, I'm going to take a player on the other side of the ball, and that is running back James Conner. Yes, I know, maybe not the most flashy stats on paper. He had 50 yards on 16 carries, a rushing touchdown, 33 receiving yards on 3 receptions, most of that coming in the first half, but I think he'll figure it out. He did come out swinging in the first half, breaking off a couple of big gains that really moved the momentum forward for the Cardinals. There were a couple of times where he was used maybe a little bit questionably. One time that comes to mind was a run on 3rd and 4 in the red zone during the 4th quarter where he just got nowhere, tackled in the backfield, and we ended up getting a field goal on that one. But I do expect him to be a big part of this offense going forward. He needs to stay healthy, and I think he could find himself as player of the recap a few more times this season. But we'll just have to see, Mike. Next week, the Arizona Cardinals will start a 3-game home stretch as they host the Los Angeles Rams at State Farm Stadium. Kickoff slated for 1:05 p.m. local time. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to keep bringing you a weekly recap of the Arizona Cardinals this season. So make sure you like and subscribe right here so you can stay up to date on all the Valley Sports and Arizona Cardinals action. For Michael Benjamin, I'm Chris Patrick, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Cardinals fans, it's time